Which actor seemed miscast in a role but ended up killing it? I think I was of the opinion that Joaquin Phoenix was an odd choice for the role of Johnny Cash until I saw his acting and heard his phenomenal voice sing these classics. I thought that Jim Carrey in The Truman Show must have been an error because he's a comic, but at the end I was so wrong that I reviewed all my life choices and felt like the worst human being on existence. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in Italy, called If You Leave Me, I Delete You was the same thing except better. Incredible movie. Every time I hear that Alexander Pope quote I begin crying. Gary Oldman as Zorg in The Fifth Element. RDJ in Tropic Thunder. Totally went for it. Everyone thought Travolta had been miscast in Pulp Fiction because at the time his career was on its knees and he hadn't been cast in anything noteworthy in a very long time. Tarantino breathed new life into Ito's career, but giving him the role, Pulp Fiction changed how movies got made, sold, and distributed. Grossed something like $107 million domestic on a $8.5 million budget. It also resuscitated John Travolta, rescued Bruce Willis, catapulted Samuel L. Jackson, spotlit Uma Thurman, delivered Ving Rhames. Who the heck is Urge Overkill? Edit corrected budget and domestic box office. Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Patrick Warburton as Lemony Snicket really came out of nowhere for me. I totally imagined Lemony Snicket as a scrawny nerd, but the classy suave character turned out to be awesome. Rob Lowe in Parks and Recreation. Based on some of his other work it didn't seem like the role of an enthusiastic health nut fit him, but he killed it. I love that they were auditioning for the replacement for Mark Brandanowitz, and it came down to Adam Scott and Rob Lowe. Couldn't decide on who to pick, so they took both. I read that Paul Schneider said I think on Screen Crush, the creators wanted to work him back into the show at some point in season 3, but it never happened. Apparently Schneider didn't like the direction they were taking his character, so creative differences factored into him not continuing the show. I'll always refer to the pushback The Dark Knight got when it was first revealed they cast that blonde dude from A Knight's Tale, and that 10 Things teen romance and the internet collectively went WTF. Wow, that was a huge error on our part. When they announced Ben Affleck to play Batman, I remembered Heath and thought maybe I should shut the freak up until after the movie this time. Also I love how the internet shat all over the idea of Robert Pattinson as Batman. Then the trailer dropped, and the entire internet was like Robert Pattinson is Batman. Michael Keaton in Batman. People lost it when he was cast. I remember reading that his Beetlejuice performance sealed the deal because they saw him doing angry scenes. What are your qualifications? Link. Well, I attended Gilead. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague and had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now what do you think? You think I'm qualified? When his voice changes from a sort of flat baritone from the start, but that lived through the Black Plague, it escalates so fast to the character going ballistic. Plus the pauses in 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Just perfect delivery. I can't realistically see Beetlejuice being shown as formerly a level-headed human and now an absolutely deranged poltergeist any better. I can't help but wonder if he improvised the wanking gesture near the end when Adam asks if he can be scary. That absolutely flew over my head seeing this movie as a kid. Haha. I remember going to the theater to see Silkwood in 1983 with Meryl Streep and Kurt Russell. When they showed Cher's name at the beginning, people audibly laughed. She was fantastic in the movie and went on to a very respectable film career. I had always thought she was a good actor from her days on the Sonny Cher show, so why not go dramatic? Anyway, I love all her work. Cher in Moonstruck gives me life, and her work in Mask was absolutely moving. In 2002, nobody could imagine Matt Damon playing a badass CIA assassin with amnesia. I saw the preview on TV and was like, the dude from Good Will Hunting. The Jason Bourne movies are among my all-time faves now. and I can't picture anyone else in that role. The funny part about that movie is that it kinda started the no soundtrack realistic Farley stuff used for serious action. Something about watching two guys semi-realistically just go for each other's throats. No monologues. No talking. No exposition. Fast and jarring with nothing you can look away from. It locked you in and made it almost hard to breathe. Hollywood, of course, has since completely botched it. The way they fought, you could legit feel the desperation of knowing one had to die. Burn fight scenes are some of my favorites for how intense they are. Gene Roddenberry hated Patrick Stewart as Jane Luck Pickard, to the extent he had him wearing a wig during casting. The runner-up for the role told Stewart that he killed the audition, but to lose the wig. Eventually Roddenberry came around, and I personally think Stewart's Pickard was the most amazing captain to ever appear in the franchise. I've been rewatching lately, and I absolutely love how consistent he is about going stiff and grumpy whenever children are involved. It's such a specific thing to have decided for the character. Wasn't there that episode where he was trapped in a turbolift with 3 kids, gave them crew roles and his uniform pips, and was singing Freya Jacks? Season 5, Episode 5 Disaster. It wasn't that bad of an episode. Will Ferrell in Stranger Than Fiction played an excellent role as a non-goofball. This may sound like gibberish to you, but I think I'm in a tragedy. I brought you flowers. Cate Blanchett as Bob Dylan in I'm Not There. She was the most believable Dylan in that movie by far. I honestly don't think Cate Blanchett has ever been in a bad role. She is one of the best actresses currently living, that's for sure. Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny Cash in Walk the Line. I'm a huge Cash fan, and was very disappointed. He absolutely killed it though. I was so wrong. Oh yeah, he shocked me how much he transformed into Cash. Amazing performance. Joe Quinn is a freak. I love his work. That guy knows how to sell a character. His role as Commodus in Gladiator made me genuinely despise the character. That was the first time I'd seen him act, and he does take on a part and really wear it. Charlize Theron in Monster. Edward Norton American History X. I could never feel intimidated by Norton, or so I thought. I was terrified of his character. Primal Fear seriously freaked me out. Ed Norton has been scary to me ever since. Fun fact, to get the role he told the director he was from Kentucky. He's from New York, not Kentucky. I don't ducking know. He stayed in character, with accent, for 9 months to keep his life from getting out. I was skeptical of Pedro Pascal as a Baron Martell in Game of Thrones. In the books the character has a darker, more commanding type of charisma, but Pedro's version was terrific. I loved him as the Red VIP. He just used charisma. He had a wonderful level of confidence and arrogance and righteousness. He was the hero in his own story, but unfortunately Game of Thrones wasn't in his story and he ended up getting something in his eye. His introductory scene was set up so beautifully. Here we have the larger than life and frankly terrifying figure with very personal and quite sad motives for his part in the story, and that just really compounds his tragic end. Pedro Pascal also seemed to have so much fun in the role too. For all that, apparently, he didn't even intend to try out for the part. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau gave an interview where he talked about complaints against him being cast as Jaime Lannister because he had such a big nose. Can't imagine anyone else in the role at all now. David Tennant as Purple Man in Jessica Jones. To me, he was a brilliant but goofy Doctor Who, not a baddie. Holy cow though, if his safe and cozy doctorette didn't quickly dissolve away. Jessica gives me heebie-jeebies. Daniel Radcliffe in everything after Harry Potter. Dan Radcliffe has docu money from today until the day he dies. He doesn't have to act for money. He can act for the fun of it, which gives him freedom to pick the really fun roles. Because it doesn't matter if the movie flops. He's set either way. He just wants to play the interesting characters. He's the yin to Nick Cage's yang. Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo. He already showed with Good Will Hunting and A.I. Bicentennial Man that he can also do drama, but a thriller with him as the main actor. Yes. Don't forget Insomnia. He was also fantastic as a psycho in that one. Keanu Reeves as Neo. In my head, he was typecast as Theodore Logan. but he did really well in The Matrix 2. I still like Bill and Ted more, probably because of nostalgia, but The Matrix was so far removed from Bill and Ted and the other stuff he had done until that point that it was surprising how well his Neo turned out. Really, it has to be Leslie Nielsen in Airplane, a straight serious actor of the era playing a role of high farce. How could that work? I think a lot of them were straight actors. Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, Robert Stack, etc. were predominantly known for serious roles. The entire movie was perfectly cast. Don't forget Barbara Billingsley, June Cleaver speaking jive. Chump don't want the help. Chump don't get the help. Betty White as Rose Nylund and Rue McClanahan as Blanche Devereaux. In fact, B. Arthur wasn't even interested in doing Golden Girls at first, because Betty would be playing Blanche, and Rue would be playing Rose, and figured it just wouldn't be interesting to have them reprise the types of roles they'd played before. But when she was told that Betty would be playing the sweet, ditzy woman and Rue would be playing the man-hungry diva vixen, she thought it was a great idea and came on board. Also, I'll admit that Eva Longoria didn't impress me at first on Desperate Housewives as Gabby Salas, but once she got comfortable with the role, she really became my favorite of the main cast, if we don't count Edie, and was the funniest one on there, and she could nail the dramatic scenes, too. Ricardo Antonio Chivera should also get credit for making Carlos go from an insufferable, abusive prick to a lovable, sympathetic, funny husband. It almost seems like season 1 Carlos was just a fever dream. Plus, he and Eva had perfect chemistry once the writing for them started to improve. Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Before that he was a normal rom-com guy cast in an action film, when most action leads were absolutely shredded. So much so that the trailers had audiences laughing, and they actually removed him from the poster. Needless to say, the rest is history. Edit the Movies, That Made Us series on Netflix is great, and has an episode on Die Hard, if anyone is interested. It's funnily what made his role seem more realistic. There were stars like Schwarzenegger who are just cartoonishly ripped in a way real life people just aren't. Bruce Willis embodied a more down-to-earth believable badass. That was literally the whole point and McClane's whole personality. He literally isn't a super bullet immune badass. Just a guy in a wrong time wrong place situation. Too bad later movies made him able to take out helicopters with a car. McClane was plausible through the first 3 movies easy. The only silly thing he does in them is the airplane wing fight, which was more other guy beats the duck out of him for 10 seconds then tosses him off the plane. Danny DeVito seems miscast to me in almost everything but Big Fish, but he kills it at everything he does. Danny DeVito seems miscast to me in almost everything but Big Fish. He would like a discussion with you about his performance in Matilda. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. Cillian Murphy as Thomas Shelby, playing a character poles apart from himself. He is not a tall, well-built or physically imposing man, but he gives the character power, authority, intelligence, utter ruthlessness and a cold, hard stare that shows he's in charge and not to be beefed with if you value your life. George Clooney in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Edit this opinion is not made in hindsight, but from the POV of when the movie came out in 2000, only 21 years ago. Also punctuation. Every time the Coen brothers call Clooney he only has one question. Are you gonna make me look like an idiot? If the answer is yes, he says yes. Him and Brad Pitt are character actors to the bone. Cursed with leading man faces, and you can tell they think that way. Brad Pitt especially. Absolutely sublime in 12 Monkeys. Anytime he leaves a film, all I can think is that's Brad Pitt. Anytime he's a side character, I get absolutely lost in his performance. Even more on topic with the Coens is Brad Pitt in Burn After Reading. Ducking hilarious. Probably Robert Pattinson in every serious movie after Twilight. He's a genuinely great actor and I'm hoping that the Batman will pull people away from that one movie he was in. Dude, The Lighthouse was ducking incredible. Pattinson has such fantastic chemistry with Dafoe. I couldn't believe it. Anyone reading this, please watch the trailer. I watched an interview with Dafoe and apparently they didn't get much time off set beforehand, but then got to know each other during the press runs. Incredible casting by Robert Eggers. John Lithgow's a serial killer in Dexter. I grew up watching him play a goofball alien in Third Rock from the Sunday. I was massively disappointed when I heard he was playing a serial killer in the new season of Dexter. I thought it would be ruined. His first scene, no dialogue, just him stalking a family at the beach while sipping a tea somehow chilled me to the bone. Man's an amazing actor. That guy from Not Another Teen Movie is gonna be Captain America. He already sucked as the Human Torch. Heh. Whoops. My bad. Chris Evans. Can't believe no one has mentioned Who Laurie's House. For people who never watched BBC maybe, but Laurie was the lovable British goofball, the upper class twit, a comedian. House is a brooding depressed American Sherlock Holmes. Absolutely kills it. Can't imagine anyone else for the role now. But good lord. Could you imagine someone like Patton Oswalt being cast to play an ultra serious British version of Sherlock Holmes? That's basically what they did there. Nathan Fillion as Malcolm Reynolds. He was cast as the cold-hearted tough guy and literally said he couldn't do that, so he put his own spin on it, and it worked perfectly. No one knew who David Tennant was when he was cast as the Doctor. Well, some did, but most honestly thought he was too young and wouldn't be very good. Now he is one of the most famous British actors and regarded as the second most iconic incarnation of the Doctor, behind Tom Baker. Who the frick convinced Alan Rickman to play Alexander Dane Dr. Lazarus in Galaxy Quest? Don't get me wrong. Rickman was a serious dramatic actor and I loved him in so many roles. I did not expect him to be so good at comedy, though. I get reminded yearly on Facebook that I posted Chris Evans was cast as Captain America. Not too sure about that. It's probably my worst opinion of all time. Edit. Thank ya stranger for the wholesome award. Alan Rickman as Snape. Snape was supposed to be a younger, scrawny, greasy looking guy. Rickman didn't really look at all how he was described in the books, but still made a fantastic Snape. Daniel Craig in Knives Out. It was supposed to just be goofy, but he did a great job. Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump. Both Steve Martin and Rick Moranis in My Blue Heaven. Owen Wilson in Loki. I did not see that one coming.